I never trusted the river, but where I grew up, it was impossible to avoid it. A black coil cutting through the forest, wide and sluggish, its surface always too still, like a mirror stretched too tight. It swallowed boats. It swallowed animals. It swallowed people, though no one spoke of it openly. Instead, they left offerings, beer bottles, flowers, coins balanced on rocks by the shore, little bribes to keep the water quiet. My grandfather told me once, never camp by the river, never light a fire near its banks, because the river remembers and it always takes back what it's owed. I laughed at him back then, thought it was just old man superstition, until the summer I was 19, when we thought it would be funny to camp right at the bend where the current swirled slow and deep. We were 5 in total: me, my cousin Aaron, 2 girls from town, and Luke, who was reckless enough to make even Aaron look careful. We parked the truck on the dirt trail, carried our gear down to the stones, and set up. By the water's edge, the sun bled out behind the trees, and the river caught the last light, making it look like molten glass. It was beautiful for a moment, almost holy. Then the dark came fast, and the air grew heavy, and the insects stopped there. Endless singing. I should have left then, but pride is a stupid anchor. We built the fire high, its smoke rising in gray ropes, sparks dancing across the water, and when we sat close together, the heat felt good against the strange chill that rose from the river itself. Aaron told the first story, something dumb about a hunter who vanished in the woods. Then Luke one-upped him with a story about drowned children who still played along the banks. The girls laughed nervously, clutching their bottles. And I said nothing, but the river did. It shifted once, twice, lapping against the stones, though there was no wind. And when I looked down at it, I swear I saw teeth. Not fish, not ripples, but white, jagged teeth breaking the surface for an instant, then gone. I blinked hard, told myself it was reflection. But when I looked up, the others were staring too. None of us spoke for a long moment. Then Luke laughed. Too loud, said we were drunk. But his voice cracked like glass. And the laughter didn't sound like his that night as we lay in our tents. I heard it, the river speaking not in words but in sound, a deep grinding like stone on stone, water against bone. It rolled through me, vibrating my ribs. I held my breath, but it didn't stop. It grew louder, until it was under my skin, like my own blood trying to escape. I must have passed out eventually, because I woke to Aaron shaking me, his face, pale sweat dripping. He whispered that something was wrong. Luke was gone, his sleeping bag empty, torn at the seams. We ran to the river's edge and saw his footprints in the mud leading straight to the water, but none coming back. The surface looked calm, almost smug, and on the rocks lay his bottle split open as though chewed. We told ourselves he wandered off drunk, but I knew better, we all did. Still, we stayed because dawn was close and none of us wanted to stumble through the woods at night, so we waited by the fire, the river watching us with its black eye. The girls whispered prayers, clutching their hands together, and Aaron stared into the flames, muttering that he heard Luke calling his name every time the fire cracked. When the sun rose, pale and weak, we packed fast, too fast, leaving gear behind. But when we turned the truck's key, nothing happened. Dead engine, dead battery, dead hope. So we had no choice but to stay one more night. That second evening, the river rose, not much, but enough to lick at the stones near our tents. We moved the fire higher up the bank, but the water followed, inch by inch, like it wanted to be near us. The air stank of rot fish and something sweeter, like meat left in the sun. And when the wind shifted, I heard laughter bubbling up from the current, low and wet. Aaron cursed, threw rocks at it, but the water swallowed them without sound. The girls cried, begged to leave, but where would we go? The truck was still dead, the woods too thick. So we huddled together, the fire barely keeping the dark at bay, and listened to the river breathe. Around midnight, something climbed out of it. At first I thought it was Luke, dripping wet, staggering toward the fire. But when he stepped closer, the flames showed his face. Wrong, swollen, pale eyes, black water spilling constantly from his mouth. He grinned wide too. Wide, showing teeth that weren't his, jagged, sharp like the ones I'd seen in the current. And when he spoke, it wasn't Luke's voice, but the river grinding out syllables through his throat. You owe me, it said, though. No lips moved. The girls screamed. One fainted. Aaron grabbed a branch from the fire, swung it hard, but the figure collapsed back into the water without a splash, gone, as if he had never been there, though the stones were slick with black slime where he'd stood. We didn't sleep after that. We couldn't. Every ripple, every breath of wind made us jump. By dawn, One girl was fevered, shaking, her skin clammy, her eyes glazed. She whispered of voices under the water, calling her name, sweetly promising peace. She staggered toward the edge, and before we could catch her, she stepped in silent as a stone. The current took her in seconds, the river swallowing her without a ripple. Aaron cursed, screamed until his throat tore, but the water only bubbled, faint laughter rising like breath through a flute. The third night, it was only 3 of us, Aaron, me, and the last girl who barely spoke anymore. She just rocked by the fire, humming tunelessly, staring at the river. We tried to stay awake, but exhaustion is a crueler predator than fear, and at some point I drifted off. I woke to Aaron gone, his scream echoing across the bend. I saw him thrashing waist deep, the current pulling him down, his mouth open in silent terror. I ran, grabbed his arm, but it was slick, as if coated in oil, and when I pulled, he came apart, his skin tearing like wet paper, his body unraveling into black ribbons. The water drank him greedily until nothing remained. The river licked the stones in satisfaction. The girl didn't even flinch. She just laughed softly, eyes fixed on the current, and whispered, "It's beautiful." Then she walked forward into the water without resistance. The river welcomed her like an old friend, teeth rising briefly to greet her before pulling her under. I was alone. Then the fire. Dying low, the night pressing close, the river grinning with every lap against the bank. I wanted to run, but there was nowhere to go. The woods seemed endless, the truck useless, and I could feel it, the pull in my chest, as if the river had already claimed me too. I sat there until dawn, numb, watching the water. Watching me. When morning came, the truck started first. I drove without looking back, but the river followed me in every mirror, every puddle, every glass of water. Since that night, I've seen its teeth waiting patiently, smiling. Sometimes I hear Aaron's voice bubbling in the sink drain or Luke's laugh in the shower pipes, and I know they're not gone, not really just part of it now. The river collects it, never loses, and it marked me too. The twist is this. Someday it will collect me as well, not by drowning, but by stories, because every time I tell this, the river flows through my mouth and into your ears, and now it knows you too. When you drink tonight, look closely. You'll see ripples where there should be none, teeth where there should be none, and when you hear laughter in the water, you'll understand the truth. The river doesn't forget. The river doesn't forgive. The river always feeds. I never believed in curses, but the pines change that. The pines at the far edge of town, the ones the locals warned us not to camp near because people went missing there, not just once. Not just sometimes, but every year. Always the same season, late autumn, when the nights grew brittle and the frost began to bite. They called it the hunger season and said the trees themselves remembered blood. I thought it was nonsense, old folk tales to scare kids. But when my friends suggested we pitch our tents in the clearing beyond those pines, I said yes, because pride and stupidity taste the same when you're young. We hiked for hours into the heart of them. The trees taller than any I had ever seen, their trunks thick enough to hide houses, their tops so high they swallowed the sky. The deeper we went, the quieter the world became. No birds, no wind, no crunch of leaves, just the sound of our own breathing echoing too loud, like we didn't belong. We found the clearing at dusk, wide enough for 3 tents, ringed perfectly by trees as though planted in a circle. We set camp, built a fire in the center, its smoke climbing slow and straight, and for a while it almost felt safe. We laughed, cooked cheap food, told jokes. But after the laughter died, I noticed it. The silence thickening around us, pressing in like invisible walls every time the fire popped. We all jumped, every time a stick snapped underfoot. We froze, searching shadows. Nothing moved, but it felt like something was there, watching. I told myself it was nerves until Lacey said it first. She whispered, "I feel eyes on me." The words cracked like breaking glass, and none of us laughed because we all felt it too. That night, as we lay in our tents, I couldn't sleep. The silence was too heavy. My ears strained for sound, any sound, but all I heard was breathing, not ours, not mine. Slow, steady, measured, like something circling the tents. I held my breath. It kept going, never quickening, never faltering, as though it had no lungs. Just rhythm. Pure rhythm. I clenched my knife in sweaty hands, waiting for it to pass, but it went on for hours until dawn when the fire outside sputtered and died. I must have passed out from exhaustion because when I woke, the others were pale, hollow-eyed. They had heard it too. None of us admitted it at first, but the truth clung to our faces. The second night was worse. The breathing returned closer this time, circling tighter like it was curious, like it was counting. The fire flared without cause sparks, spitting upward though no one touched it. And in the smoke I saw it just for a second, a shape tall, impossibly tall. Thin as the pines themselves, its eyes. Two pale glimmers like frost in moonlight staring straight at me. I blinked, and it was gone, but the breathing never stopped. We huddled closer to the fire, whispering prayers and curses, our voices trembling every minute, feeling longer than hours. By the third night, Mark had cracked. He insisted he saw something moving between the trunks, a tall figure matching step for step. Whenever he walked the edge of the clearing, he refused to sit. He just kept pacing, whispering numbers under his breath like he was counting, then screaming that it was counting with him when we tried to calm him. He struck out, eyes wild. He ran into the trees before we could stop him, his flashlight beam weaving between the trunks until it vanished with a snap of silence. We searched until dawn, calling his name over and over, but the pines swallowed him. Whole, no footprints, no sign, only that silence heavier than ever. The next day we tried to leave, but every path led us back to the clearing. No matter which direction we walked, we found ourselves circling back, the pines rearranging themselves around us like walls. Lacey cried until her throat was raw. Aaron cursed every god he knew. I just sat staring at the tree line because I knew it was there, watching, smiling without a mouth, waiting for nightfall. When darkness came, it stepped closer. I saw it this time. All of us did, tall and thin, skin like bark, eyes glowing faintly. It didn't move like a man, it swayed like a tree in wind. Though the night was still, it stood just beyond the firelight, watching, breathing, never stepping closer, never stepping away. Hours passed like centuries, and we sat frozen, unable to sleep, unable to move. When dawn broke, it melted back into the trunks, but I knew it was never gone. That day, Lacey vanished. She said she heard Mark's voice calling her from deeper in the forest, gentle, pleading, begging for help. She ran before we could stop her, and though we followed, the voice circled us around and back to the clearing. No Lacey, no footprints, no sound. Aaron collapsed, sobbing. I held him through the day, both of us knowing night would fall again, and it did. The watcher came closer, its eyes brighter, its breathing louder like it was inside our chests. We tried to keep the fire high, feeding it everything we had, but the flames sputtered as though starved of air. The shadows deepened, the circle of trees closed tighter, until we swore the branches reached toward us. Aaron broke. Then he ran screaming into the dark, knife in hand, his voice echoing until it was cut off, sharp and clean, silence swallowing it. I was alone then, fire dying, watcher swaying just beyond sight. I don't remember leaving, I don't remember finding the road or stumbling home, but I know I did because I'm here speaking to you yet. Sometimes I wonder if I ever left. Maybe I'm still there in that clearing, staring into those pale eyes. Maybe I never escaped. Maybe it let me go so I could carry it with me, because I still hear it every night when I try to sleep. That breathing, slow, steady, endless. And sometimes when I wake, there are pine needles scattered across my floor. Though I live miles from the woods, sometimes I see frost glowing faintly in the dark, like eyes watching from corners. The twist is this: you think you're safe because you're not in those woods. But the watcher doesn't belong to a place, it belongs to a story. Every time it's told, it listens, it learns new names, new faces, new prey. So now it knows you too. And when you lay your head down tonight, listen close to the silence. If you hear breathing that isn't yours, don't open your eyes, because it will be there. Tall, thin, swaying in the dark, waiting. I never liked fire, but I loved campfires. Strange, isn't it? How the thing that can consume everything feels like safety when you're lost in the woods. My father taught me to build them when I was small. He said, keep the circle tight, keep the flames alive, and nothing in the forest will dare step inside. But he never told me why. He never told me the old rule, the one whispered between hunters and wanderers, that fire doesn't just keep things out. Sometimes it keeps things in. I learned that too late the night I stayed in the abandoned campground by Miller's Lake. They closed it down years ago after a boy vanished. No trace left but a smoldering fire pit. His parents swore they heard his screams in the smoke the rangers tore. It all down, but some places don't let go, they just wait. I was 21, restless, stupid, a drifter with a backpack and more pride than sense. I stumbled on the place by accident, trails, overgrown signs, rusting, but the fire pit's still there, old. Circles of stone blackened with ash. I set up camp near one, thought it poetic, thought it defiant, a ghost town. Just for me, the lake stank of algae. The pines leaned heavy and broken. But when night came, the silence thickened like wet cloth, and I knew I shouldn't be there still. I built a fire, lit it high, let the sparks dance up into the void. It felt good at first, the warmth, the light, the illusion of control. I almost forgot the warnings until the smoke curled wrong, not up, but sideways, coiling thick into the dark, and in that smoke I saw shapes, faces pressed thin and screaming, their mouths open. But soundless, they writhed, then vanished when I blinked. I told myself I was tired. Shadows play tricks. But the fire popped and the smoke swelled again, forming shapes clearer this time. A boy kneeling, hands reaching, skin blistered and ash-stained, his eyes locked on mine. Pleading, begging, when I reached out, the smoke recoiled with a hiss, and I swear I felt fingers cold and brittle. Brush mine, I yanked back, trembling, staring into the pit where the logs shifted with a sound like bones snapping, and beneath the wood I saw something pale. Not ash, not stone, but teeth. Human teeth glinting in the firelight. I should have run. I should have stamped it out. But I froze because the smoke rose again, and this time it spoke not with words but with voices. Dozens, hundreds, maybe overlapping screams and whispers all at once. Some calling names, some praying, some shrieking, like animals. And woven through them all was one clear, steady voice, a child's voice whispering, "Let us out, let us out, let us out," over and over, until the words burrowed into my skull. I staggered back, clutching my ears, but the sound was inside me, not outside. The fire roared higher, though I hadn't fed it. Sparks sprang like stars, then falling wrong, not down, but toward me, burning cold when they touched my skin. I grabbed my pack, ready to flee, but the flames bent in my direction as though pulled by breath, and in the smoke I saw more faces now, not strangers, but familiar. My father, my mother, friends I'd left behind, all with mouths gaping, eyes wide, all mouthing the same plea. "Let us out." I screamed at them, told them it wasn't real, but the fire only grew brighter, shadows stretching around me until the entire clearing was ringed with them. Hundreds of figures made of smoke, tall, thin, their bodies writhing, but their faces still human. Some I knew, some I didn't, all of them staring at me, all of them burning without flame. I don't remember falling, but suddenly I was on my knees before the pit, heat blistering my face, eyes watering, and the boy was there again, clearer than ever. His skin charred, his teeth broken, but his eyes, endless. He whispered louder this time, "Not just let us out, but you have to feed it, you have to give it what it wants before it takes you." I shook my head. No, no, no. But my body betrayed me. My hand stretched toward my pack, fingers fumbling until they closed around the knife I hadn't touched since I'd left home. I didn't want to. But the smoke pressed closer, voices pounding inside me until I thought my skull would crack. Feed it, or be ash with us. I cut my palm, the blade slicing quick, blood spilling into the dirt, and the fire hissed like a starving beast. The smoke sucked it up hungrily. The voices rose into a scream of triumph, and the flames roared so high they lit the entire lake in orange and black. For one heartbeat, I saw everything, every face trapped in that smoke. Their agony, their hunger, their endless waiting, and I knew then what my father hadn't told me. The fire pit wasn't built for warmth or light. It was a mouth, an altar, a prison. And once you light it, you owe it. You owe it blood. I thought it was done after that, thought the fire would die, but it didn't. It burned all night, though. I had no more wood, no more fuel, just that steady hiss and crackle and those faces staring out, sometimes pleading, sometimes smiling, sometimes shifting into shapes that made no sense. Bones twisting, shadows elongating, things that had never been human, but once were. I sat there until dawn, shaking, bleeding, dizzy. When the sun rose, the fire went out on its own, leaving only ash and silence. But I knew it wasn't finished because when I looked down at my hand, the cut was gone, healed, as though it had never been made, and burned into my skin was a mark, a circle of stone with flames inside etched black as Charcoal, I left the camp. I ran until my legs gave out. I told myself I'd never go back, but the mark burns whenever I pass smoke, whenever I see flame, whenever I hear wood crackle. It itches at night, it pulses with heat, and sometimes when I dream, I see that boy staring at me whispering, not let us out anymore, but bring us more. Bring us more, bring us more. I think the fire chose me that night. I think it let me leave so I could carry it into the world, so I could build new pits, new mouths to feed, because sometimes I wake in strange places, woods, fields, basements, my hands black with soot, my clothes reeking of smoke, and behind me always a circle of stones, still smoldering. And the twist is this: you think you're safe, because you never camp at Miller's Lake, but fire is everywhere. Every home, every hearth, every spark waiting for a breath of life. Once you know its name, once you've heard its voices, it follows, and now you have. Because you sat here listening to me, and in your mind's eye, I know you saw the pit, saw the flames, saw the faces, and when you light your next fire, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, you'll see them too. The smoke will curl sideways, not up, and in it something will stare back and whisper, "Feed it."